the natural breath. We will meditate for 15 minutes.
Last 2 minutes. Do not open your eyes. Simply stay with your breath. Last 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Slowly and gently open your palms and place them on your eyes.
Hello. So I'm super awesome, excited, and thrilled. Like we have like a beautiful master today, Lisa Richards. She is going to teach us about the five spiral pyramid energy. Unlike the regular pyramids, like the Russian pyramids are tall and steep with the angle of 76.345. Lisa Richards is a frequency influencer, meditation master, spirit communicator, and dowser. She is the owner of Pyramid Search, where she intuitively designs powerful energy transformation tools as well as accessories for meditation pyramids. She is head researcher and vice chairman of the Pyramid Science Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to pyramid energy research. She is the co-host of the Pyramid Science Foundation live stream, co-host of the Souvenir Sisters podcast, and soon to be the host for her newest podcast, Alter Ether. Lisa is a seeker of ancient and forbidden knowledge, which has been intentionally hidden from us to dim our shine. The alchemist, in her plans to transform the world, humanity must awaken to their true potential. Wow, a person with multiple hats. I'm so glad and honored to invite Lisa. Lisa, please share your experience.
Yes, yes. Thank you, everybody. It's a real honor to be here today. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, I have a little presentation that I'm actually going to share. So I've been dabbling in pyramid energy for several years now, and it wasn't until I kind of broke the mold. You know, over in the Western world here, we're programmed to work ourselves to death, not have any hobbies, not look into other things. And it wasn't until I quit my job that opened it up has opened up some time for me. So I actually started in organic gardening. That's what that's what led me into pyramid energy. I found Patrick Flanagan's work, and then I started researching a lot of different things. And when I open one door opens, many other doors open for me as well. So I like to say I know a lot of things, but I'm not a master at one thing. So I usually know a little bit about every subject if I can. But let me screen share real quick. I have a little presentation to show you, to tell you what I'm about, what the Pyramid Science Foundation is about, and what these tall, steep, phi scaling pyramids are about. Give me a second here. Okay. Okay, this presentation is called The Power of Phi Spiral Pyramids. Now, this man is Alexander Golod. In 1990, Alexander Golod, a Russian scientist and defense engineer, began building Russian pyramids all over Russia and the Ukraine. And the interesting thing is that his projects, these pyramids, were funded by the Russian government, specifically the Russian government. So that alone should tell you how important this technology is, how important pyramid power is. And we can kind of see now Russia's being demonized by a lot of other countries, especially the United States right now. But Russia is also pushing out all the genetically modified organisms, all the GMO foods. People are being arrested in their country if they are growing those. So they seem to be more apt and updated on true health, true ways of healing. Now, 17 pyramids were constructed by 2001, and more than 50 pyramids were built worldwide, but mostly in Russia and the Ukraine by 2010. The largest pyramid is 144 feet or 44 meters tall. And the materials that these pyramids are made out of are specifically non-conductive material because, well, specifically, I should say fiberglass and PVC. And there's not a single element that's included in the construction of these pyramids. They discovered that when they introduced metal into the pyramid structure, it actually decreased and sometimes even eliminated the entire pyramid power. Now, 76.345 degrees is the slant angle of these Russian geometry pyramids. It has to be this very specific slant angle. And Charlie Zeiss, who's he's my business partner. He's also the owner of Stargate Pyramids and the co-founder of the Pyramid Science Foundation with me. But he actually confirmed this geometry with his research a few years ago. So I want to play a video. It's about 11 minutes long that explains how Charlie came about finding this geometry as well, and confirming that it's the same geometry that the Russians used, because some of this research is out there, but they're not going to give all the information to us. And one thing that was hard to find was the specific geometry that they were actually using. So here's that short video.
As a result of having a chance to look at Dr. Golod's website, confirming his angle.
Oops, sorry about
ratios of height to base length of 2.02 was a start towards what I'm going to be talking to you about today. I am so excited to report that after 2 years of searching as well for the relationship between golden geometry, the phi ratio, and Russian pyramid geometry, I think I finally got it all together. confirming those ratios was the first step in the process. But recently I've been doing a lot of research into torsion fields. And just a couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to read some information about the work of Anatoly Akhimov, a Russian physicist, and his work in torsion fields and pyramids and cones. And I want to read you some of the summary of this research because it's very pertinent to what we're going to talk about. His group of at the Physics Institute of the Ukraine Academy all shown to have torsion generating effects. And so this confirms what our research has done and that of others, that the geometry of the pyramid is going to have an impact, and a great impact, on the amount of torsion that's field is generated, and it's a function of geometry. But in addition, from this research, it was determined that the best passive torsion generators were formed by cones that were shaped into a phi ratio of 1 to 0.0618. So now if you think about that for a minute, you've got a cone that's coming up to the top like this, and it's got a geometry. What that means is that there's that ratio, there's a big ball on the bottom, let's say with a diameter of 1, and then the next one up would be a diameter of 0.618, and then the next one is 0.618 divided by phi. You get the idea, going up smaller and smaller into a cone. And I started to think about that for a second, and I said, well, I wonder what sort of a geometry angle we get if I actually sat down and did the math on that. Well, that was the story in a nutshell. When I did the math, I used something called GeoGebra, which is a website. I'm going to try to put this out for everybody to see if I can figure out how to do this. But I worked on that website and put together a geometrical pattern of successively smaller phi circles going up to the top. And I couldn't do this infinitely, but I did about 12 of them, which was sufficient to give me a very high level of precision with respect to the correct angle pyramid that would form around this successive balls of a series of balls that are being decreased in diameter by phi. And surprise, surprise, I came up with a degree angle of 76.345 degrees. Now that's just a little bit off from the slant angle of the Russian pyramid geometry, which is 2.02 to 1. That seems like a minor difference, and maybe would be enough to make people question. But having been in this business of making pyramids now for a couple of years, it finally dawned on me that this is not any sort of a rounding error. What it is a practical error, which comes when we go from the theoretical world of geometry, which has points that have take up no space, or lines that have no width to them. When you go to build stuff in the real world, you're going to have width to everything in depth, to every piece of pipe, for example, that I use in making the pyramids. So when you do the math, the differential, again, is less than 0.3 of a degree. It's 2.45 tenths of a degree, 76.1 to 76.34. And I went back and looked at the dimensions of my pyramids. I had actually accounted for this, having read some articles about the theory, and in order to make my pyramids precise to that 72.1 degree angle that was came out of the 2.02, I actually accommodated for that. In fact, I would imagine that the Russians did not do anything like that when they measured their pyramids. They just say, well, how long is the side? Yeah, how tall it is pretty simple. That's how high it is. But on the bottom, you know, the supporting braces and so forth are going to have some dimension. So I really think that's going to explain it in practical sense. So what we've done is extraordinary, because so many people, and I put out you know, comments on this before, that I knew that when David Wilcock looked at this and explained it in his book and on Wisdom Teachings, that he had assumed that the angle, the slant angle on these pyramids was somewhere around 70 to 72 degrees, and probably didn't quite understand all this either, because it's taken me 2 years of nonstop research to figure this out. But that is actually the so-called Nubian geometry, which does have a ratio of height to base length of 1.618. But the Russian geometry, as I say, when you do that 2.02 calculation, you come up with 76.1. I'm coming up with 76.35, and when you account for the fact that there is geometry, you know, space that's taken up by the supporting beams and so forth, it's not at all surprising that there's a 0.2 of an angle difference in order to get the true internal geometry to the level of 76.345. And just as further verification of this, as you know, the law of one material is something that David relies on heavily. I went back, it's on my website, and I checked to see what their geometry was. It's their ideal geometry for healing is 76 degrees 18 minutes. And when you calculate what that is in a percent degree, it's 76.3 degrees. So within rounding error, not only is the law of one now conforming with this idea, but it's also showing up, you know, in the real world. So I'm very excited about this. Hope you are too. Finally, we have an explanation of how the golden ratio and phi geometry works with Russian pyramids.
Okay, sorry about that. The volume is a bit low. I don't know if I can raise the volume of the video though. It's just in my presentation here. Let me, is my microphone loud enough, guys?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Charlie did say during that video that his calculations came out to 76.345 degrees, but it was a little off from what he gathered. And he thought it was from the building materials as he was explaining, but I will play another video from him later on that relates to the Giza geometry and how he has a different conclusion to this now. But I want to go into some of the Russian research because what they discovered is amazing. And so I'm going to read some of the research that they've actually done. So one of the things they discovered was, well, first of all, Dr. Alexander Golad's website is written up at the top here. It's pyramids.ru. And most of the time, at least in the United States, you have to use a proxy search engine. You can't use Google, Chrome, or Safari to find information on him. You have to use a proxy search engine like Yandex in order to find any information. And it took Charlie Zeiss 2 years to find Dr. Alexander Golad's website. It wasn't until he met me at the Global Pyramid Conference that I told him about using a proxy search engine, because even though the internet has www in front of it, World Wide Web, you would think that you're getting all the information from the entire world, but you're not. In the United States, you're limited to what the United States wants you to know. And a lot of this information has been intentionally hidden from us because they don't want us to know just how powerful we truly are. And so there's his website, check it out. It has all this information on there for you as well. But so this is one of the research topics they covered was Russian pyramids purify contaminated water. So the goal was to determine whether pyramids can purify well water that has been contaminated with strontium, heavy metals, and salt. The mythology was a series of pyramids were built in the Arkhangelsk region of Russia. And what the results were, the strontium and the heavy metals that had contaminated the well were able to be cleared by the effects of the pyramids. In another town, a pyramid was constructed that reduced the amount of salt in the water. So that's amazing. Okay, another one of their research topics was the Russian geometry pyramid creates new streams and regenerates extinct plant species. And the results were a Russian geometry pyramid harmonizes the space within its radius of influence. After construction of a pyramid in the area of Selinger Lake, new streams appeared in the area. A stork set up a nest, and nearby fields became covered with previously extinct species of flowers. So it wasn't just, the pyramid was not just affecting what was inside of the pyramid, it was also underneath the pyramid with the streams. It was also outside of the pyramids. They saw plants growing outside the pyramids, and like it says here, they analyzed those plants because they didn't recognize them and they had went extinct a long, long time ago. Russian geometry pyramids increase blood platelet count. And so the purpose of this was to study the effect of water exhibited in the pyramid on the blood platelet count of rabbits. The mythology was possible changes in the blood coagulation system of rabbits ex vivo when replacing normal drinking water with water exposed in the pyramid were investigated. Studies were conducted for 14 days. Blood from rabbits was taken before the start of consumption of pyramidal water, as well as on days 7 and 14 after the start of the experiment. And the results were the number of platelets of the rabbit before the introduction of the pyramidal water was taken as 100%. On the 7th day, after the start of the experiment, their number increased to 129%. And on the 14th day, it had increased to 167%. The Russian geometry pyramids improve athletic endurance. So the goal was to determine if there was an impact on endurance through exposure to pyramids. And the mythology was rabbits and white rats were exposed to the pyramid and then compared to control for endurance. Animals exposed to the pyramid gained 200% more endurance than control group animals, and their blood gained higher concentration of leukocytes or white blood cells, or otherwise known as your immune system. So, these results are amazing. The so-called pandemic was going on, a couple years ago. This type of information would have been great to know. It helps a lot with the immune system. It helps a lot with eliminating toxins from your body. And you don't even really need to sit inside of a pyramid. A lot of their research is actually with pyramid charged water, as this is one of my favorite research topics that they actually covered. The Russian geometry pyramid reduces infant mortality. So the research investigated the influence of 40% solution of glucose in distilled water administered orally on 20 premature babies with compromised immune systems, which would normally have resulted in death within a few days. So they had a group of 20 babies that were so premature, every one of them was expected to die within a few days. The infants were each fed a few millimeters of the 40% glucose to water solution that had been stored in the healing pyramid energy field. So they charged this glucose water inside the Russian pyramid for a specific amount of time. And I think it was only a few days. And in all cases, the administration of the pyramid exposed glucose solution resulted in health levels increasing rapidly up to practically normal values. So every one of those 20 babies that was expected to die in a few days lived. You know, that's why I'm saying this is very important research that we need to know about. Further testing found that the results were the same after applying just 1 milliliter of water only, which had been exposed to the pyramid. So the first initial test was with glucose water, where you could say that the glucose had a part of it, but then they did the same exact tests and had the same exact results with just pyramid charged water. Okay, Russian geometry pyramids diminish earthquake risk and severe weather. And the methodology is the teams from the Russian National Academy of Sciences studied earthquake data from the areas surrounding a series of pyramids. And they compared it to earlier data from the before the pyramids were built. The results were that the pyramids tend to dissipate the energetic buildup that would normally create sudden violent earthquakes. Instead of seeing just one large and powerful quake, several hundred tiny quakes had registered instead. Furthermore, the atmosphere surrounding the pyramid seemed to be shielded from severe weather, causing a decrease in the amount of violent weather patterns. Okay, the Russian geometry pyramids create far-reaching energy fields. And the purpose of this is to see if a Russian geometry pyramid had an impact on the atmosphere surrounding the pyramid. And of course it did. Radar equipment was placed at distances of 30, 32, and 60 kilometers from a 22-meter Russian, 22-meter tall Russian geometry pyramid. And the results were that the radar readings indicated the presence of ionized energy field 2,000 meters or 6,200 feet high and 500 meters or 1,550 feet wide along the vertical axis of the pyramid. And that's from a 22-meter or 68-foot high Russian pyramid. And what we've discovered with the Pyramid Science Foundation is that the larger the pyramid, the larger and wider this energy field will go. The column was constantly changing its height from 800 meters to 2,000 meters. The radar reflecting ability of this formation was comparable to the reflecting ability of an airplane. Further studies confirmed that a large circle of this ionized energy surrounded the area above the pyramid in a 300-kilometer or 185-mile range, with the highest concentration being directly above the vertical axis of the pyramid. And, you know, Dr. Sam Osmanovic from the Bosnian pyramids, the founder of the Bosnian pyramids, has found the same thing. There's a huge energy beam that's coming out of the pyramids. And his is, I believe, they tested the Pyramid of the Sun. So Dr. Golod's team calculated that if such an energy column were to be produced electromagnetically, it would require all the combined energy of all the power plants in Russia. So that is how powerful that truly is. Now, well, going back to that real quick, well, let me finish this. This is the hypothesis of the method of action, what Dr. Golod thought was going on with that energy production. His hypothesis is that there's an energy vortex above the pyramid, and that the detected atmospheric ionization is a consequence of what he calls vortex radiation. Further, the detected ionic column above the pyramid delineates the neck of the funnel of this hypothetical vortex. Researchers noticed that fragments of the ionized column detached over the pyramid and moved in an upward flow. These fragments retained their configuration at large distances from the pyramid. So based on this data, Dr. Golod assumes the possibility of separation and movement of this ionization with the ascending flow of the air. Depending on the weather conditions, these structures can be anywhere on the planet in just a few days. And, you know, this research, and I won't be able to touch on it today, but this geometry, the 76.345 degree geometry, is found in Tartaria, the Tartarian Empire, which was ran primarily by free energy created by this specific geometry on the roofs of all the homes, of all the buildings. And Charlie Zeiss and I were actually featured in a film by Nick Alvier of Good Lion TV, which focused on the Tartarian Empire. It was called the Tartarian Empire Part 2, Remnant Energy. And you can see that on goodlion.tv. And here's an example of the column of energy that's actually emitted from the peak of the pyramids. Another experiment, Russian geometry pyramid generates electrical energy. This is to determine if electrical energy could be harnessed from the Russian geometry pyramid. So capacitors were placed at the apex of the pyramid. And the results were that a spontaneous electrical charge was taken on by the capacitors. Furthermore, pieces of the capacitors were seen breaking away and rising into the air on the energetic column produced by the pyramid. So maybe our technology isn't even strong enough to capture the energies that are coming off of these pyramids, but that's one of the studies that we want to do. We want to replicate through the Pyramid Science Foundation. The Russian geometry pyramid fields drastically improve prisoner behavior. So this focus was to determine the effect of pyramid-treated table salt on the behavior of a population of 6,000 prisoners. So what they did is they charged the table salt in the pyramid for a certain amount of time, over 5 tons of it. They were stored in the Russian pyramid. The salt was then distributed and used for cooking and table use by the nutrition services of prisons within the Russian Federal Penitentiary Service, housing over 6,000 prisoners. And what they found, I must have forgot to add the last part of that, but what they found was that the prisoners became more docile and they became more receptive to retraining so they could go back out into the world and not come back into the prison again. So, I mean, how many mental illnesses and things, they're on the rise now, and we need things like this to help. Russian geometry pyramid enhances agricultural production. So this is my focus this year for the Pyramid Science Foundation, is the agricultural production. So this study was to determine if placing various types of crop seeds inside the Russian geometry pyramid prior to planting would affect the production of the crops. And so before planting crops, just the seeds were placed inside the pyramid for 1 to 5 days. And then tens of thousands of acres were seeded with over 20 different crops. And the conclusion was, in each case, there was a 20 to 100% improvement in crop productivity. The crops were disease-free and not affected by droughts. And the quality of toxic substances in plants decreased. Similar results were obtained when just stones previously exposed to the pyramid energy were placed around the crop field. So you don't even have to have a huge pyramid or several pyramids all over your field. You can just have one and charge the seeds. And those are some of the experiments that I want to do. You know, how does the production go up when the longer it's stored in the pyramid? You know, those are things that I'd like to test out. And they charged actually granite stones. So any type of a crystalline stone that can be receptive to that pyramid energy, you put those in the pyramid and let them charge, and then put them in the garden, and your plants are just going to grow like crazy. Now, this was another one in agriculture. Russian pyramid increases wheat production, and this one was pretty amazing. To determine if the existence of the Russian pyramid would impact the production of wheat, They placed a 37-foot high or 12-meter high pyramid in the middle of a wheat field, adjacent to another wheat field with similar soil and growing conditions. And the results were that the wheat grown in the field containing the Russian geometry pyramid had a yield 400 times, 400% of that of the control planting. So that is a huge difference, a huge difference. So, how many people are starving around the world? There shouldn't be any. Nobody should be suffering. Health-wise, food-wise, I mean, the pyramid energy can help with a lot of this. Mental-wise. Now, you all heard my bio earlier, so I wanted to cover some of my experiences. So Charlie is more of the brains. I'm more of the spiritual side in our duo here for the Pyramid Science Foundation. And some of the experiences that I've discovered was that it seems that the steeper the angle, the more power the pyramid has. And so what I found is like the Giza pyramid is more beneficial for quieting your mind if you have a hard time getting into the meditative zone. It's really good for sleep. And promoting healing and things like that. It does a lot of the things that the pyramid does, but just at a softer energetic level and a little bit slower. So like I said, the steeper the angle, the more power the pyramid has. So I like to say the Russian pyramid is kind of like the high-speed internet compared to the Giza pyramid, which may be more like a dial-up connection, a beginner pyramid. The Russian for meditation and things like that, which I use it for, some people who are sensitive to energy, they try it and they jump right out of it. They can't, the energy is just too much for them. So those people might want to start with like a Giza pyramid. But then people that cannot feel energy, they sit in one of these pyramids and they can finally feel the energy for the first time in their lives. So it's something that you want to play around with. But it could be a little overwhelming at first. I tell people not to put these pyramids in like your bedroom if you have problems sleeping. It's just going to cause more sleep disturbances from the high energy. If you meditate inside of one of them, your meditations are deeper and you get more information. You get more, it's like a more secure connection, it seems to me. Manifestations, if you use these pyramids for manifesting, it's like jumping ahead of the line to place your order, literally. Like you need to be very mindful of your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions before you jump inside of one of these, because pyramids are an amplifier of energy. So let's say if you're in a bad mood, it's going to amplify your bad mood if you jump in one. So you need to be somewhat stable before you jump in. You need to be very mindful of what your focus will be, and your manifestations are going to come to you a lot quicker if you do that the right way. It also, when you jump inside one of these, or sit inside, I should say, you instantly feel little tingles in areas of your body that usually need healing. And what I like to say, what I feel is happening is that it's connecting you to the other aspect of yourself, your higher self, which knows all, which reminds you that, your body was designed to heal itself. So, listen up, let's do it. You're connecting to your higher self that knows how to heal yourself. And so healing starts almost immediately. And if you don't have time to sit in one of these, put a glass of water in there. I always have a glass jug of water in the bottom of my pyramid. And you get the same results, just like in the Russian research. If you drink a glass of water, it's like meditating in there, and you can get those results instant without having to sit in there and meditate for however long. So that's a really cool aspect of it. I've also found with our bio well, we have a bio well, which is like a very powerful Kirlian photography system. It mainly reads the biophoton energy of your body. And I would do tests before and after meditating inside one of the Russian pyramids. And what I found was it brings your body into coherence. So your chakras are going to be aligned better. Your body's organ balances are going to be better, you know, because there should be a balance. The left side of the organ and the right side of the organ are usually out of whack for a lot of people. But when you sit inside the meditation pyramid, it brings that those organs and your entire body into coherence again. Energy healers. So if you're an energy healer, like I am a medium, so I've done readings when I was inside of a pyramid, and it creates more of an instant connection with your client, with, you know, the spirits. If you do mediumship and you want to communicate with spirit, it's going to give you a more instant connection, and you're going to receive way more information. You're able to understand more of what you're receiving. So that's really beneficial. And then if you have a client that is inside of a meditation pyramid as well, it's going to be a double whammy there for you. You know, it's going to be super powerful for both of you. Now, I did some plants. Well, actually, I started out not with the plants, but with the tadpoles last year. I'm a little farm girl, and I have had a huge puddle on my property that had a bunch of tadpoles. They weren't even tadpoles at the time. They were eggs. They were frog eggs. So I grabbed a couple batches, a couple handfuls of frog eggs, and I had one in the control group and then one underneath a 3-foot high Russian pyramid. And the results ended up being amazing. Accidentally, well, I shouldn't say accidentally, but unintentionally, plants started to grow inside of both of them, the control group and the one inside the pyramid group. So I just let them go. And you'll have to, if you want to see the results of it, you'll have to go to our YouTube channel. There's a 7-part series that I shared on there from beginning to end, just how immaculate it was. But I mean, the plant growth was amazing. It was huge compared to by the control group was about shriveled up and only a few inches tall, I think 6 or 7 inches tall, whereas I think it was 36 inches tall was the largest plant. And then the tadpoles, it was the same. The tadpoles that were in the pyramid group grew a lot bigger and a lot faster than the control group. And I wish I would have had the ability to keep them once they grew their legs and started hopping around, but it was just too much for me to handle. So I released them all. But, you know, tadpoles grow so fast. So continuing that experiment this year, or redoing this experiment this year, is one of my plans. And hopefully I can keep some so I can continue monitoring their growth and they're not hopping all over out of control. So, but those were all really interesting. Now, Charlie Zeiss, who is the owner of Stargate Pyramids and co-founder of the Pyramid Science Foundation with me, he has written a book, and it's the first book on the Russian geometry pyramid. So it's called 76.345 Degrees, Exploring the Hidden Secrets of the Golden Ratio. And you can see on the front, it's not a pyramid, but there's a lot of different formations like this. And that's what he discovered all around the world. So this book actually contains over 1,000 photographs, and they demonstrate that the unique geometric angle, 76.345, it's fundamental to all physical reality. It's hiding in plain sight in nature, in architecture throughout the world. And these examples date back thousands of years and are found on all continents, you know, like the Sardinian Iraqi, just all over the place, in church steeples and in all major religious traditions. This unique angle is the geometry of universal phi scaling. And through his original research in sacred geometry, harmonics, and ancient diagrams, Charlie demonstrates the essential role of 76.345 in the progression of the Platonic solids, in vibrational coherence, and in universal phi scaling. So you can actually get a free digital copy of Charlie's book if you become a luminary member on the Pyramid Science Foundation. And that's I believe it's $44, just a one-time fee. And then you would get a digital copy, like emailed to you, and you're like the first to receive updates on our research and different things like that. So you get a lot of perks through that. Now, Charlie just did this as well. He spent so much time putting this together. It's a documentary and it's 5.5 hours long. So you need quite a bit of time to understand it. And you'll probably be rewinding some things too, because he gets pretty technical, but it's called The Golden Ratio and the Organizing Principles of the Universe. So while researching nature, architecture, and technology, Charlie made the significant discovery that all of the important components of a potential model of creation, including the scaling of fractals, the scaling of the platonic solids, and the geometry of the horns of a spherical torus, will share the 76.345 degree geometric angle. He further determined that the recursive formula associated with the Fibonacci sequence provides the perfect mathematical formula by systemizing universal phi scaling. And then at the end of the documentary, he proposes a model of the organizing principles of the universe. Consciousness, you know how it's linked to consciousness, the first of its kind to link together universal phi scaling, fractal scaling, the Fibonacci sequence, the platonic solids, the torus, and the integrated dynamic model using consciousness and sacred geometry as the driving forces behind creation. So it's pretty cool. You can see that for free actually on our YouTube channel, the Pyramid Science Foundation YouTube channel. Now I want to touch a little bit on the Pyramid Science Foundation. The website's called pyramidsciencefoundation.org. And Charlie and I incorporated this as a nonprofit 501c3. It was organized in early 2020. And our mission is to conduct scientific research on pyramids of all geometries. Most of the geometries we've been studying, though, are the Russian pyramid geometry. But this year, I'm going to expand that into the Giza geometry as well. Some of the areas we want to delve into, ask the important questions. So how does pyramid energy affect humans? How does it affect animals? Do pyramids help with physical health? Do pyramids alter consciousness? How do plants and animals respond to pyramids? And can the weather be modified with pyramids? How does water react to pyramids? And the big questions: how can we harness pyramid energy to produce free energy, health, and longevity? And how can we use these sacred geometric principles to enhance the power of consciousness? As part of our research, we will examine the numerous factors affecting pyramid energy and performance, including geometry, building materials, energy enhancements, size, and location. So these are the upcoming projects that we would like to do this year. And Charlie and I will also be traveling around to some different expos and looking for different speaking opportunities as well, because this is the year that we really want to expand into all of this. The Pyramid Science Foundation, even though it's a nonprofit organization, it's hard to get donations. And we have a few people that donate quite a bit, you know, for us to continue our research, but it's not enough for us to delve into a lot of the things, especially the one topic that I'm going to touch on here. So I actually, like I said, I'm a farmer, and I actually raise rabbits as one of my farm animals. And so I came across this study. It was from a man in Texas, I believe. And this was in the 1970s. And he actually did a study with rabbits that with the Giza geometry pyramid. So he had a group of rabbits that had regular hutches, and then he had a group of rabbits that would live in a Giza style hutch. And the ones in the pyramid hutch grew 40% larger than those in the control group. So that's something that I want to raise money for, so I can build a couple of different pyramid shaped hutches and do some research on this, because that's just amazing. I mean, it's, you know, so that's one of the upcoming projects, as well as the other one that I plan to do is on agriculture research. So I actually, one of the things I plan to do this year is build A few different geometries out of a few different kinds of materials. Mostly, I probably am not going to do the Nubian one this year, but I'll do the Russian pyramid and the Giza pyramid made out of wood, both of them. And then I'll have a Russian pyramid and a Giza pyramid made out of copper, because I want to see the results for myself. They say that the Russian pyramid doesn't work well with metal, and it has to be out of non-conductive materials. And a lot of people say that the Giza pyramid works better made out of metal. So I want to see this information for myself and how it really works. And the best test subjects really are the plants, but my biggest downfall is I'm a plant lover, and I think I can hear them screaming at me, the ones in the control group. They want all the spoils of the pyramid group too, But, another thing that we'd really like to get into, I want to do more research with water, pyramid charged water. So it's not just going to be growing plants inside the pyramids. It'll be watering plants that are not in pyramids with water that has been charged inside of a pyramid. I make ormus. I don't know if anybody knows what ormus is, but it's a super conductor of energy. Great for plants, great for upping your consciousness level. But I make it inside of a pyramid. So I'm going to do a control group outside of a pyramid, make one inside, and see the results of both of those. And then one of our bigger projects, and this is what we really need a lot of the funding for, is the energy research. This is the Pyramid of Peace. And if you go to tosabluemountain.com, TOSA, bluemountain.com, that's where you can see the Pyramid of Peace. It's in South America, I believe. And a man named Sri Ram Ka actually built this in the 76.345 degree geometry. And we had plans to work with him to do the free energy research. But sadly, Sri just passed away about a month or so ago. So we don't know where this project's going to end, if his wife will be able to do anything with us or not. So we're kind of just in limbo at the moment, but we definitely want to pursue other avenues, or any avenues that anybody has any ideas about, please share. Now I'm going to play another video. This is another video by Charlie. If you guys can't hear it, let me know, and I'll just exit out of the slideshow here and play it, see if I can up the volume, but I don't think I can right here. So this is the Russian pyramid relation to the Giza pyramid. And I thought this was very important to show you guys because they are related. Okay.
This is something that when I first started working on this about 2 years ago, was the only thing I could find an image form on the internet about the geometry of Russian pyramids, and it shows a height to base length ratio of 2.02. And I kind of from there, in one article that was on GizaPyramid.com, I built my pyramids based upon that ratio. And as I talked about in a previous video, I've never been able to, nor has anyone else for that matter, been able to accurately describe the sacred geometry. Many people have mistakenly said that the slant angles of these pyramids are somewhere around 73 degrees, which is actually the slant angle of a so-called Nubian pyramid, which has a ratio of height to base length of 1.618 to 1. So we knew that that was not the case. I was reading some research from Anatoly Akimov, a Russian physicist, and the work that he had done with cones and pyramids. And he found that with respect to a cone, which is really just a pyramid with an infinite number of sides to it, that a cone worked best as a passive torsion generator when it was in a phi ratio. Well, that got me thinking, and I hate to bore people who've seen this before, but I visualized that because they talk about it as a cone, but I started to think about this as a series of stacked spheres with declining phi ratios, and I wondered what sort of a geometry I would get. by doing that. And so I set to doing that, did the math, and that's what we're going to show here in a minute on GeoGebra. The slant angle that was available, that came about as a result of that, was 76.345 degrees. Now, the slant angle that you get from the 2.02 to 1 ratio is 76.1 degrees, which is about 0.245 different. The ratio that I got of height to base length is 2.05, not 2.02. So there was a slight disparity. I had discussed this in the context of the fact that when you deal in a theoretical construct of geometry, where you have points, lines that have no dimension, no width, no depth, no height, no space, that when you go and build something in the real world, the dimensions are going to change because of the height, depth, width, and so forth of the building materials that you have. And that is a partial explanation. But one of the things that I did find out just yesterday, which I think is fascinating as well, most of the pictures and all of the pictures until yesterday that I had seen of Russian pyramids were all from a distance. And so it was real hard to see the tops of the pyramids themselves. Well, I was going in anticipation of a phone call I had yesterday morning. I was going through the work of John DeSalvo and his Complete Pyramid source book. And in that book are pictures of close up of many of the pyramids that Dr. Golat actually built in Russia. And what a surprise, I'm putting this up now. I took a blow up of one of those pictures. The top of that pyramid isn't there. It's locked off a few feet before the very top, and there is no point to the tip like there would be in a theoretical geometric pyramid, which we were working with to figure out the sacred geometry of 2.05. So further proof here that the 2.02, if you were to go ahead and make that pyramid and figure out the height all the way up to the tip, I can almost guarantee you that it would be the 2.05 ratio that we're going to talk about. So again, further proof, here's one more picture. This is actually from inside the 44-meter pyramid that was built outside Moscow. This is looking straight up. You can see that there's a hole in that top of that pyramid as well. So once again, this pyramid has been locked off at the top, and I think that that is the difference for the dimensions, and I'm going to show you further proof of why I think that's true later in this video. But now to move on to the information that I wanted to provide you today. As I said, the 2.02 to 1 ratio that we got was very close to what I got when I did the sacred geometry study. But I wanted to give you first the proof of that. The slide that I have up now is the one that I showed on the original video, and it had a height of 2.62 and a base length of 1.27. Now, actually, when we go to the next page now, you're going to find out that that was rounded to due to the fact that this summary page that I had to print couldn't give you the level of detail that's actually in the GeoGebra file. So as we go to this next page, you're going to see I've got a link here to the actual GeoGebra file. And what we've done here is to take all of this information and taken it out to 3 significant digits, which is what the actual file will do for you. As I said before in the previous video, this file, when you go to click on it, it's open to the public. You can, and the link to it is in the comments section down below this video. You'll find that rather than 1.27 being the height, that the height of the pyramid is actually 2.618 rather than 2.62, forgive me. And the base length, rather than being 1.27, is actually 1.272. So go in at your leisure, check that out, but that's verifiable now. And that results in a ratio of height to base length of 2.0581761 and a slant angle of 76.345. You go down further on that page, you'll see something that's called a link to calculate the slant angle. This is also on my website, but this is a free service where you can go and figure any sort of calculation that you want to with respect to pyramid angles. And so on the next page here, I've got that information up. What you have to do when you're using this is to tell it how many sides you want. We put in 4, and then a base length and a height. So I just put in a base length of 10 to make the math simple, and then I multiply the 2.0581761 by 10 and came up with a height of 20.581761. So if you go down, you get all the various volumes, base areas, and so forth, according to the geometry of that pyramid that we put in. But if you go down to the bottom, you'll see that there's a slant angle of 76.345. So this is a proof out to 3 significant digits as to the slant angle of this pyramid. So I hope this information is helpful. And that's basically where we ended at the last discussion. But now I want to bring some further information to light. One thing I'd like to admit to right now, I put out a second video last week where I was talking about the fact that this information correlated perfectly with the law of one material. And, you know, I'm so grateful to the person who wrote in, because I figured that everyone in the world was talking about the same angles. But when they talk about pyramids, meaning the slant angle, because that's what I had seen. But as it turns out, someone who knew the law of one material certainly better than I did, pointed out to me that the 76.345 degrees angle that I thought was the slant angle is actually what's called the apex angle, which is the angle made at the top of the pyramid. And I thought about that all of a sudden, and I said, well, I wonder what the apex angle of a Giza pyramid is. And sure enough, here's where the world is taking us. As you see on the next page, this is a simplistic drawing of the Giza pyramid with the proper phi ratios, with the hypotenuse being phi, the height being the square root of phi, and the base being 1. And when you draw that Giza pyramid, you get a slant angle of 76.345 degrees. I don't think it's a coincidence that the slant angle of the Russian pyramid is identical to the apical or apex angle of the Giza pyramid. But I'm excited about this. I wanted to get this out to you. I'm obviously going to be doing some more thinking about this, but if there are people out there who can understand this and have some thoughts on it, please give me a ring. I'll be happy to talk to anyone who's got some good ideas. I have some ideas, and I'm going to be researching this over the next couple of days. And as soon as I have some further breakthroughs in this, I'm going to let you know. But clearly, sacred geometry here is being identified, and it works with both the Giza and the Russian geometry pyramid, which tells me, as I had expected, that this is a truly highly evolved form of sacred geometry that we're dealing with here with the Russian pyramids.
Okay, so that video from Charlie was from about 5 years ago. So he has learned more within the past 5 years. And like I said, watching that documentary that he created will really catch you up on all of his work and his research. And we have a lot of different videos on our YouTube channel for the Pyramid Science Foundation. We're also on Rumble as well. So you can find a lot of our videos and our research there. But here's our contact information. If you want to contact me, you know, if you want to contact Charlie, I recommend you contacting him if you have any sciencey questions, because like I said, he's the brains. I'm kind of more on the spiritual side of it, but I wanted to present a lot of the research and some of his material to you guys here today, because I figured it was important for you guys to know. So that's it for me. Now I can take some questions if we have some time left.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. That was wonderful, wonderful messages from you. Like, yeah, you experience with like plants, animals, and different sorts of varieties. So yeah, that's awesome, Lisa. So
Yeah.
friends, if you have any questions, please raise your hand.
I did want to address one of the questions. I saw there was one question in there that asked if this was published in peer-reviewed journals, and it's not. First of all, most of the peer-reviewed journals are compromised anyway. You know, the testing and stuff is done by the people that want the research to go a certain way. And, you know, also we've discovered too, not through the Pyramid Science Foundation, but there is proof out there that the person running the experiment kind of fuels the outcome of this experiment as well through their consciousness. So what can we really do besides trust ourselves? You know, we are the only bearer of truth in our lives that we can trust. So that's why it's so important to start doing the research yourself. You know, it's simple. Build a pyramid, put a plant in it, you know, sit inside one. You know, you guys have a lot of experience with pyramids already, so you know a lot of this, but in the United States, there's not a lot of people really over here, you know, running around with pyramids and talking about pyramids. And I'm sure I look crazy to a lot of people over here, but I don't care, because I know how important they're going to be to help heal the world. And the world needs a big healing at this point. Did you want to read the questions, or do you want me to pick them out in the chat?
Yeah, Mia was like asking like where you find the pyramids for plants and water. Like, yeah, where to find pyramids for water or plants.
Yeah, so now Charlie Zeiss is the owner of Stargate Pyramids. So stargatepyramids.com. He has different size Russian geometry pyramids. I'll turn my camera around. I'll show you. This is one of his, if I can, this is one of his meditation pyramids that I have. Okay, and then I make the accessories. So at the top there, you'll see a little plate and a capstone at the very top with a crystal in it. So I make the capstones and accessories for his meditation pyramids. That little plate that you saw up there is called an apex amplifier. And what we discovered was about a foot down from the apex is the area of most energy inside this pyramid. So that's why I created that plate for you to put water onto charge, seeds onto charge. I have a different pyramid amplifier up there. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize it for the pyramid energy. But if you go to Stargate Pyramids, that's where you're going to find the different size meditation pyramids. And then also on our YouTube channel, or you can go to my website, pyramidsurge.com, and Charlie provides instructions to create your own PVC pyramid. So he has the dimensions and everything. So if you can't afford one, we have the directions for you to make one yourself. And you always have access to him or I if you want to email us and ask questions as well.
Okay, thank you. If anybody have any more questions?
Oh, the name of the YouTube channel is Pyramid Science Foundation. But yeah, even, you know, if you go to Dr. Alexander Golod, the person in charge of the Russian research, if you go to his website, pyramids.ru, you're going to see pretty much a lot of the stuff that I covered today. But there is no very detailed science, you know, studies or anything like that that they share on there. There are still quite secret about it. And we've even contacted him to meet with him as well. And we just haven't had that happen yet because we have a lot of questions ourselves. And through the Pyramid Science Foundation, we want to replicate their research. So.
Yeah. Are there any other sources of Russian research that you are aware of other than the colored pyramids?
Yeah, so let me, where is my presentation? Hold on one second here. I just had some information. Okay, give me like a minute. I'm going to add these to my slideshow real quick and screen share again because I wanted to add these to the end and I forgot to. But
Sure,
there are
okay.
quite a few different books and stuff. So. One, two, three, four. Okay. Okay, let me screen share real quick, guys. Oh, why is it showing a whiteboard? Okay, can you guys see that?
Yes, Lisa.
Okay, so I have about 4 different screens to share here with a lot of different information if you want to delve into it. But these are some of the books that we recommend on top of course, Charlie's book. He's going to have the most comprehensive book about that. So Divine Cosmos by David Wilcock. And you guys will be able to come back and screenshot these or whatever. The Complete Pyramid Source book by John DeSalvo. Pyramid Power by Patrick Flanagan. The Healing Power of Pyramids by Joseph Marcello, who I just spoke with a couple weeks ago. Okay, here's the next one if you want to take a shot of that. Some work by Patrick Flanagan. Okay, and then this is a couple more books. And then if you want more information on torsion fields, the information at the bottom there. Now this is the last one. It's actually some videos that you might want to look into if you're more of a visual person, and then the website for the pyramid calculator as well that Charlie used. Okay.
Yeah, we have 3 more minutes. Looks like Smita has raised the hand. So,
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Smita.
I wanted to ask a couple of questions, but I think someone put all the links in the chat, so I'm good for now. Thank you so much. I think
Okay.
I'm not sure. One thing you had mentioned where we can find the pyramids for energizing the water, and you named some place, but your voice cracked and I didn't get the name at all. So if you could repeat that.
Yeah, that's Stargate Pyramids, stargatepyramids.com.
Stargate.
Yes, it should be. Yep,
Okay.
it's in the links there at the bottom. Stargate Pyramids.
Okay then. Thank you that much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There are one or two questions in the chat, Lisa. Would you like to answer?
Yeah, I can add. I can send the book information to you if that's what they want in the chat, the WhatsApp chat. You're welcome, Jack. Am I missing any other? Let me see. Okay. So it depends on the pyramid. It says what pyramid is good for plants. Really, all of them are good for plants. The one that I used for my study was a 3-foot high pyramid. And it really depends on a lot of things. You know, I find it's more powerful if you're a dowser to find where underground water crosses, where 2 underground water veins crosses, and that's where to put your pyramid. My experiment, though, was not placed there last year. So that it also depends on the material that the pyramid's made out of and how it's aligned. I always recommend if a pyramid is made out of metal to align it to magnetic north. If a pyramid is non-conductive, to align it to true north. Some people feel different in that. They think that all pyramids should be aligned to true north. Some people think all of them should be aligned to magnetic north. So like I said, that's part of the Pyramid Science Foundation and what we're trying to figure out here. And the range, it really differs, you know. A large pyramid like we have in here, you can detect it as a dowser, the energy field of it, by about 50 feet away. But a lot of energy workers who are like remote healers and things like that, they can visually feel the energy miles away. So, you know, I think there's just different levels of it and different aspects to it that we're not aware of. Yes. So Charlie's where it says, could the specific angles of the pyramids correlate with sound frequency too? And yes, of course. You know, the megaphone that you use to speak in, to project your sound, is in the 76.345 degree geometry. You know, the dunce cap that was created for, you know, the people that weren't keeping up to speed in their studies, it's in the 76.345 degree geometry. So they have a pyramid on their head, which is making them smarter. That was the whole reasoning behind it. So if you want to see the documentary for Charlie, it's on the Pyramid Science Foundation website, pyramidsciencefoundation.org. That'll be the easiest place to find it, but it's also on our YouTube channel. But I think that's all the time we have today. I don't want to keep everybody. If you guys have any more questions for me, please email me or Charlie. He's always eager to answer questions as well. So thank you everybody for listening today. I hope I didn't bore you too much.
That was like an awesome and wonderful session by you, Lisa. We are truly, truly honored to have you here today. Friends, let's end our session today and let's meet tomorrow, 9 p.m. PST with the Reinvent class. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Lots of love. Bye-bye.